Uh-oh. Oh, there they are. Hello.
Are you on for there?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So
Is my
nice to see you. Or not. See. Hey.
Alright.
So we're gonna yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Hold on. Oh, hello.
Okay, we're waiting for Lily.
I got my kit. Oh.
You can't leave it. But Kingston do that.
I think it's gonna be the same link every time.
Okay.
Yeah, because Zoom, there's just been some issues with Zoom, and I had to go in there and create new thingies, and I wasn't really sure, well, what's up with that. But yeah, I feel like it's set up as a recurring, and the meeting ID is going to be the same each time. For another thing, it's not, but that doesn't make a difference for you.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so that will be the same. So fabulous.
Okay.
Recurring. Perfecto. Lily's answering me. So nice to have you back, Kane.
Thanks.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. I've been really busy.
Oh no. Oh no, Lily's not available. Oh, this is awful.
Like, I'm at my grandparents' house.
You are?
right now. Yeah. Hello?
Yes. Okay, so let me just I just am responding to Lily so she knows what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, she had a last minute thing, so she can't make it. Okay. Gosh, we almost had everybody together. I think maybe that's happened like once in person, and like this, and then one time kind of sort of, but not really, because Kane, you couldn't hear us, or we couldn't hear you, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of a mess. Okay. Well, that's okay. We'll deal with what we got over here. All right. Well, I'm glad that you're all here, and it's nice to see you. All right. Let's see. So I want to hear how it's been going with you, and particularly you, Kane, that we haven't seen for a number of weeks now. So lots to catch up on. And Ariana and Annalise. So how has it been going for you this week after our last class?
Oh, it's been good. Like, we watched the video.
Mm-hmm. And so the meditation for rain?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you just do it the one time?
Yeah, we did it once.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like for you?
It was like really, like, after watching the video, I felt like more peaceful and calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great practice. So remember what we spoke about? It's, practice, that word, right? So every time you do it when you're not necessarily in need of it, it's building the skills and the tools you need for your mind to be able to utilize that really quickly in a moment of that you really need it. So you're building up a skill and a tool so that in instances where it needs to support you during something, that it's there and it works. Okay, so I would encourage you to keep using it, whether you set the intention to do it once a week or a couple times a week or whatever it is. I think it was like 20 minutes, right? So there's probably, I'm sure out there maybe some shorter ones, but really it's just, making the time to sit down and really listen to it. I mean, it's only 20 minutes, but it's huge. because it might seem like, oh, 20 minutes is a lot, I don't know, it may seem like 20 minutes is too long. But, again, as you continue to develop that, it won't seem to be that long at all. And it's really going to help a lot. Okay, so I encourage you to continue working on it and using it. I sent it to you, I'm pretty sure, Kane, as well. Did you listen to it at all? You did listen to it?
Yeah.
And what was that like for you?
It was cool.
Mm-hmm. So did anything come up for you during it? And what, when you listened to it, what was your experience?
I felt calm.
Mm-hmm. Did it help you work through anything?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Sometimes she talks about in her book that's called Radical Compassion. She talks about sometimes you use pieces of rain and not even all of it at a time. Sometimes simply because a part of it may be too difficult. And other times it just may be that in the moment you need a certain part of it and not necessarily every single one. So usually that might be like the R and the A part or the I and the N part. So you don't necessarily use every step every time, depending on where you're at and what the situation is. But it honestly is really neat how it just, it just happens. It's just, you don't sit here thinking R-A-I, like you don't think of it that way. It just kind of happens, when you practice what it looks like in actual moments, right? So, all right, well, wonderful. I'm glad you all at least listened to it one time. What else has come up for you this week as far as just generally speaking with school or anything with mindfulness practice, like being present or gratitude or anything like that?
I've done a lot of schoolwork this week, and I went to Shark Tooth Beach yesterday. It
To
was
what, the
very
beach?
calming. Shark Tooth Beach.
Oh, was there a lot of people there?
Yeah.
Were
I'd say about 20, 30 people were there.
Were they distanced?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. That makes me a little worried. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to go to the beach today to pick shells, but I don't know what to expect. Like, you just kind of have to stay away from people, I guess, which is not in our nature, really. So it's just kind of, the whole thing is just really weird, and everything. But it's not forever, right? So we're just adjusting right now. Mm-hmm. And what about you, ladies? Have you anything with your gratitude practice or anything that you've noticed come up for you? Just practicing presence or anything like that?
We've been just like outside of doing schoolwork, been like going on a lot of walks outside, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Have you? Go ahead.
We also have been like putting aside lots of projects and instead spending time as a family and just really relaxing and like taking like time to just relax together and stuff.
Yeah, that's really nice. What does relaxing time look like for your family?
I don't know, like a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I can say for us, one of the things that we've been doing lately is while we've gone on a bike ride a couple times, and we've been playing games after dinner. I think I might have mentioned this before, but we have bought different games, and every so often, like the other day, we pulled one out called Throw Burrito. And it was really funny because first we had to learn how to play it, and then it essentially the game has to do with like if you get certain cards and you have to any certain number of order, you have to throw a burrito at somebody, and it's like these little cute little soft, like almost like squishy type little burrito things that are really funny. So it brought a lot of laughter that night, and it was really fun. So so for us, and we've watched a couple of movies this week, 2 or 3, like in the last week. So that's what, that looks like for us, right? So making sure that we
Yeah.
have dinner together most nights, which we hadn't hardly been doing, playing games, riding bikes. And today, I'm not sure if we're going to go kayak, or I really want to do something outdoors. So that's what I was asking, what that looks like, for your family, because it may mean
Mhm.
sitting around everybody reading by themselves, or like actually playing a game, or like, do you have a pool, or
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
like either going in our pool or
Mhm.
like eating dinner together, watching a movie, things like that.
Okay, very cool. Well, I've enjoyed doing that with my family, and it sounds like you have too. So
Mhm.
wonderful. And Kane, you guys have been doing what? I know you went out on a boat. What else?
We play a lot of card games.
What kind?
It's not really a common game to play, but we play Shanghai a lot.
Are you familiar with that, Gabriela? Huh. We just played the other day of one we never played. Was it called Spoons? Spoons. One was called Spoons that we never played before. I've never heard of Shanghai. We're gonna have to look into this.
It's a really fun game.
Yeah,
There's shoots and runs and
The what?
other things. In the game, there's shoots and runs or something.
Oh,
It's
do you use regular cards, or is it like Uno type card? Like, is it a special card deck?
You have 2 normal decks.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to look this up. So
It's really fun.
cool. We're gonna have to look that up, Gabriela. Shanghai. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we've been playing Uno and Go Fish, and what's the other one? Go Fish. Oh, Garbage.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. So yeah, well, good. It sounds like we've been having some nice time despite all the schoolwork and all that other fun stuff. So wonderful. I'm trying to think about if there was an example I could give. So actually this week, so I personally take a mindful self-compassion class, and I think I may have mentioned this before, but this week I did some mindful self-compassion practice, in the formal practice, kind of like what we did last week, but more about the phrases that kind of I needed to hear in the moment, right? So, and I mentioned for me, I like putting my hand on my heart most of the time as my sort of my nourishing sort of gesture. Yeah, sometimes we just I think can really use some sort of soothing touch and telling ourselves and just being our own best friend and letting ourselves know it's going to be okay, even though times are hard right now. Right. So that came up for me this week. So we talked about loving ourselves and why that can be really hard sometimes, because we tend to be our own worst critics. We tend to sometimes, not everybody, I know certainly I call myself a recovering perfectionist. Right. So I grew up with this drive and feeling of needing to be perfect, which we're not. We're not perfect. And there was a poem I actually was going to read about that, and I'm going to need to find it, and I will in a little bit. But today we're talking about loving others. And sometimes that can be really easy, and sometimes that can be really hard, right? So connecting with others can be difficult. I think it's one of the most difficult things because we're all different. And a lot of times we have expectations that people should be some certain way. And then when they don't meet that, we can get disappointed. And we talked a bit about that in our letting go session, about letting go of expectations for other people. Not necessarily to every degree, right? You have some expectation that people are going to, be kind, you hope, right? And things like this. But whether it's about a person or a situation, it can make it difficult when we have those expectations. And just like we talked about last time about forgiving ourselves for times that we do things maybe that aren't too nice for different reasons, right? We might have not slept enough, we might have not eaten, you know, whatever that may look like for us. And we kind of did an exercise to think about a time that maybe we weren't at our best, and kind of explored maybe why that could have been and how that would have affected our interactions with other people in that moment. Then that can absolutely affect interactions that we have with other people when they're having that similar type situation. So forgiveness is really key in this practice as well. And that can be really hard if it's related to a relationship that there's been trauma, you know, or somebody's really hurt you. And that can be very difficult. And this is not the space for very, very difficult conversations. So usually when we talk about bringing something up that's been challenging with someone else, we kind of think about something that's more mild to moderate, just so that we can practice the skill. And so hopefully if you do have anything that is very challenging, that eventually you can work your way up through working through that, whatever that might be or look like for you, okay? So forgiveness is a very powerful tool. It really is. And if a lot of times, just like with us, or even ourselves personally, or even with the world at large when we're looking out, it's easy to see the negative things, right? We talked about that negativity bias and how we're kind of primed for survival to look at the negative side of things. And those things stick more than the positives, and how we're working on developing the skill of looking for the positive in things. That doesn't mean there aren't any negative things, right? But if we open ourselves up more to positive situations or people or experiences, then we notice them more, right? Otherwise we're kind of shut off to them, right? It was this whole idea of this versus looking without the little telescope, right? So if you open yourself up to looking for the good in other people, then you're going to be, you're going to have more chance of actually finding it, okay? We actually did an exercise the other day that I think is actually kind of useful. See this? It was in my Let's Get Groovy class. And actually, I think we're going to do that. Ha! Right now. I like it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have you, I'm going to give you a moment, okay, to bring something to mind. A situation that you had with somebody that annoyed you or irritated you, or you got into argument, you know, or something, okay? So I'm going to let you bring that to mind for a minute. And then I want you to think about 3 things that you have in common with that person. Okay, are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought of something, or are you still thinking rules? Ariana and Annalise, are you still thinking?
Yeah, we're good. We're
Yeah? Okay. So Kane,
Yes.
I'd love to hear from you first. So you don't have to share the actual circumstances of whatever you were thinking about, but I'd like you to share what it is that you noticed as far as what you had in common.
Mm. We like to play video games. We're the same family. And I forgot the last one.
You can think about it for a minute.
We like the same foods.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And what about you, Ariana?
I was thinking of one of my friends, and we're in the same grade. We like.
Oh, you're cut out. I can't. You're like frozen.
Okay. So I was thinking of one of my friends. We're in the same band. We like a lot of the same things.
Okay. All right. What about you, Annalise?
I was thinking of one of my family members, like a cousin, and we both like to have fun, and we are around the same age, and yeah.
Okay. So I can share that I had I don't think it was last week. I think it was the week before. And I think I might have told you about how some guy was yelling at me.
Mhm.
A client was yelling at me on the phone, who was very angry and saying all kind of nasty things, and I had to hang up on him. I felt really upset at that moment, and my heart was pounding and I was like sweaty. And I felt really bad because I didn't like hanging up on somebody's face, because I don't normally do that. But I also have to set a boundary so part of a self-compassion practice is also setting boundaries, okay, and knowing when to say stop, okay, so you need to protect yourself. So self-compassion has aspects of nurturing, like rain, where you're nurturing yourself. Okay, there's that kind of gentle nurturing, being your own best friend. And there's also the protector, where you have to set boundaries. And so in this case, I had to set my boundary that I'm not going to allow someone to speak to me that way, and I hung up the phone. Now, he was, again, being very vile, but I recognized that we're both pet lovers, that we're both going through this difficult time right now with, just the whole situation of what's happening and the stress that places on people financially and just stress wise and otherwise. And recognizing that we're really just both human beings trying to do our best. And it was clear that, he was upset because of his own situation, because he loved his animal and he kind of felt like he couldn't provide for him. And so typically what people, rather than taking their own sort of recognition of things, push out and blame others. So that's something that a lot of people tend to do. And then we, on the other side of that, can get the brunt of that. So this exercise we just did is really a part of the self-compassion or compassion practice. We're going to talk more about compassion specifically next time, but I think this really lends to the conversation because we're all human and is part of what we call common humanity. So when you recognize that just like we're not perfect, neither is anyone else, and just like we're subject to being stressed out and having our bad moments and having our history of things that brought us to that moment, so do other people too. And when we can begin to recognize that other people are human like we are, and that we actually have a lot more things in common than we probably even know about, maybe not specifically the story, although we're all human, right? We're either, whether it's male or female, we all have somebody that we love or that loves us. There's all sorts of things that we can find, I'm sure, in common. But when you begin to recognize that they're just like us, they want to be heard, they want to be seen, they want to know that people care about them and that they make a difference and matter in the grand scheme of life. Okay, we all have those needs and desires, and so when you begin to recognize that other people sometimes can act in unskillful ways, out of different reasons, right? Trauma, anger, that are set up from other things that had nothing to do with you, then we realize that, or I guess it can open us up more for forgiveness, right? To realize they're just human like we are, doing the best they can. And maybe they're not having a great time of it. Maybe they don't have a lot of support, right? So when we can look at that and recognize that they do have good in them, that maybe we're not seeing in that moment, and we open ourselves up to that, then we allow for the opportunity to be able to recognize it at some point, even if it's not right in that moment. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So that's a loving kindness practice, and kind of how it can play out in real life. But I think just recognizing that other people, or just people too like you are, sometimes can help. And that can be really difficult though sometimes, can't it? Yeah. Especially people, when you think about, the sort of the extreme murders, right? So maybe they didn't hurt you, but you know about them out there in the world, or people that, do cause a lot of harm to other people. And that could be hard to justify, or, to show a kindness to. So, I absolutely get that. But again, just recognizing that they are people too, and their circumstances and decisions that they've made, but some out of their control, that have put them in that place, can help find a little bit of space for compassion in those situations, and for forgiveness. Okay. So we're going to do something a little fun here too. Before I go to that though, sympathetic joy is something that when we tune into that is another way that we can experience joy. Meaning, even if we're not personally experiencing a joyful moment in that moment, seeing someone else experience joy can actually, it's like contagious. Have you ever heard like smiles are contagious? Have you ever heard of that? Yeah.
Kind of.
Smiles can be really contagious. So when you're around somebody who's in a really bad mood, doesn't that kind of put you off and kind of put you kind of a little dumpy? It doesn't feel good, right? When they're putting out that energy, and it just kind of makes you feel constricted and like uncomfortable. It doesn't really make you feel very good, right? So the opposite is the case too. So when somebody's really happy and joyful and thankful and grateful and smiling, doesn't that kind of lighten you up when you're around somebody like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really is contagious. And by sympathetic joy, when you're seeing someone else experience a joyful moment, and you open yourself up to that, it actually can bring you joy in that moment too. So you're like taking in their joy, is what that is. Sympathetic joy is taking in their joy. And I can say a very specific example of this one right here that really made me so joyful that for the first time ever in my life, tears were flowing down my face before I wasn't even a thought. I was just crying so much from joy. And she doesn't know about this. Yeah, it was a very powerful moment for me. And it was a moment of sympathetic joy. So we were actually in Italy last year in June. And we were all riding bikes, except for her, who was rollerblading. And there was a moment when she got on the back of her brother's bike and was sitting on it, but then rolling with her blades. So she had her blades on the floor, but he was kind of taking her because she was sitting on the bike, right? And she just threw her arms back, and she was so like, woo, like having so much fun, and they were laughing, and it was just such an uplifting, beautiful moment. And in that moment, and we spoke about this last week, opening up yourself to it and letting it in, okay, for at least 15 seconds. In that moment, something told me, let it in, let it in. And watching them doing that and experiencing that level of joy and letting it in was like this huge rush of like emotion and joy that I felt a lot. I mean, just my whole being, my whole body. And I just started crying from joy. And it was an incredible experience. So opening up to see when you see other people in a joyful moment, actually letting that in can be a huge source of joy for you, even if weren't particularly joyful in the moment of whatever you were doing. Okay. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing experience. So something that the Dalai Lama said, which is interesting. Are you familiar with the Dalai Lama?
No.
No. Well, now you've heard his name. So the Dalai Lama, and I can't give you all the information about the Dalai Lama, but he's someone who's very, very well known, who is kind of, I don't want to say a guru, but just very well respected. And I think he's a monk. I should know this. Have you heard of Mother Teresa?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like that. Okay, so his name is Dalai Lama. And he says, if our happiness depends on our own well-being, it's limited. But if you can be activated by the happiness of others, we increase the possibilities by 7 billion. Because there's that many people, right? So there's a lot of people. Yeah. So that's just the point. When you open up yourself to the joy of other people also around you, the chances of that experience is, billions fold, right? So we're going to do something hopefully fun. It's going to be a little strange. It's going to be funny. We're going to do it anyway to get moving a little bit before we do sort of a reflective exercise. Okay. So this is the idea of connecting through playfulness and laughter. There's actually a place called the Laughter University. The University of Laughter. So they have a whole thing where they actually prescribe like, ha, 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 like you do all these kind of really funny things, and it seems weird, but it almost, I think, lends to this idea of almost like, okay, if you're sitting there, and I kind of mentioned it during one of our meditations, about just gently lifting up your lips. There's something about that brings a sense of more ease and lightness and happiness. So sometimes just doing that, almost even really just in a contrived, artificial way, can lift you up. So this is like the idea of tapping into laughter and joy through playfulness. Because you know what? I don't know about you, but we tend to take things really serious. Does anybody do that? Or is it just me? Does anybody else do that?
Mm-hmm.
We take things really, really serious, and we take ourselves so seriously. And that doesn't mean we should never be serious about stuff, but you know what? Life is meant to be experienced. and enjoyed. And sometimes we have to do some stuff that isn't real fun in the moment. But you know what? Generally speaking, this is our life to live, and enjoying it and experiencing all of it to the best of our ability and increasing our well-being, I think really is where it's at. So joy, laughter, playing with others is important. So this is something that we're going to do that, again, might seem a little strange, but that's okay. We're going to lighten up and just get our bodies moving here for a minute. So I'm going to share the website.
On the screen. Oh, that's what you're doing. Okay.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, hopefully you can still see there. Can you see the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to get started. You're going to have to stand up. Get ready.
Stand up.
Yeah. It's like a 6-minute video. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I don't know. I only saw the beginning. We are experiencing this together, okay? But this is the person from the Laughter University, one of the people. And this is, I guess, called laughter yoga. So we'll see.
Ho ho ha ha. Hello and welcome to Laughter Yoga Dance, a Bollywood style aerobic dancing and laughing. This is for the first time we are introducing a new fitness program which combines aerobic dancing, laughter exercises and breathing exercises, which will make you feel fresh and energized. The dancing steps are taken from the Bollywood movies, which are very simple and anybody can do it. Are you ready for the next one? Four.
Hello? Oh, my camera's off.
Oh man.
Sorry, my camera was off.
That was on purpose. That was interesting.
When I first saw this product, I thought it was kind
Oh
of crazy.
man, hold
Didn't
on.
really understand what the benefits would be, but I had seen.
That was pretty funny. Wow. Okay. Woo! I'm like working up a sweat over here. I don't know about you. I'm just trying to make it so this thing doesn't come back up. Okay. Well, that was funny. It definitely made me laugh. I was almost like working up a sweat and everything. Now my cheeks actually hurt. I think my muscles aren't used to laughing so much. Oh man, I don't laugh very easily. Let me tell you what. It has to be like something really funny for me to laugh. But that was interesting and comical. Okay, cool. Do you feel energized?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. So now, Gabriella's going to lead you in a reflection for a minute. All right. Okay. Well, usually that's what we do for reflection. So.
Close your eyes.
So we're going to do a reflection now.
Okay.
Okay. And we invite you to gently close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. If it does not, then looking down at a 45-degree angle and a spot that you focus on in front of you, you can do that as well. Go ahead.
So first, we're going to bring to mind someone who may have acted unskillfully, how you may have acted unskillfully with. Imagine him or her in front of you. Now get in touch with any remorse you have towards that person or for what you've done to them, and reflect on your state of mind and the confusion or ignorance that caused you to harm them. Just silently to yourself apologize, saying you're truly sorry for any harm that I may have caused you. I ask for your forgiveness. Imagine them hearing your sincerity, taking in your words, and forgiving you. Try to notice how it feels. Now you're going to do the opposite. You're going to bring to mind someone who has acted unskillfully towards you and caused you to suffer in some way. Imagine them in front of you. Reflect on their state of mind and any confusion they may have had that would cause them to harm you. Find a way to extend your forgiveness by simply saying to them, for any harm you may have caused me intentionally or unintentionally, I forgive you. I forgive your confusion. Imagine seeing them take in your words and feel your forgiveness. Notice how it feels.
So, although sometimes people's actions may seem odd to us, bizarre in some way, or out of context, they do make sense to them. And so remembering that their actions are not about you. It's about their own internal reality, which at that moment intersected with yours in a way that didn't meet your hope or expectations. And so this is where forgiveness and letting go of expectations can be helpful. Recognizing again that we're all human. And sometimes you may not be ready to forgive someone. And in this instance, you may forgive yourself first by just being where you're at. And if you're judging yourself for that, for feeling that way and still being angry or upset or not being able to forgive, we don't have to try to hurry the process or force it. When we're really hurt, it really takes time to heal. But not just time is what heals, but action and intention on your part. And knowing that when we do that, including for yourself, there's so many benefits that you're actually opening up for one another, for yourself and the other person. Desmond Tutu says forgiveness is the highest form of self-interest. Sometimes, maybe in those instances where it's difficult, just saying to yourself, I know I need to forgive so that my own anger for revenge or my own upsetness doesn't corrode my own being. Because a lot of times when we're hurt by someone else, we hold on to that and we're actually hurting ourselves when we don't let it go. Okay. So, I'd like to hear from you all about what that was like for you and just what you noticed. So, whoever wants to go first, you can raise your hand. Okay, you'll go next, Annalise. I saw Kane first. Go ahead, Kane.
It was very calming.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bit tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes our body needs rest, and when we don't allow that and we kind of settle down enough, we can get sleepy. Yeah. So what came up for you? Was it easy to tap into recognizing, maybe where you didn't behave your best and were able to ask for forgiveness, and then an instance where you extended that to someone else, perhaps that may have had a similar situation where they perhaps were not very nice to you. So were you able to bring those things to mind?
Mm-hmm.
And what did you notice?
I noticed that I could have been a bit nicer.
Yeah. Did you recognize maybe why you weren't in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so could you see why you behaved in that way in that moment then, and maybe going forward, how you may perhaps take different actions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about that in class 5, which had to do with our values. But we spoke in that class about wise remorse. So that's where we look back and see how we acted in certain ways that maybe we weren't our best. And rather than beat ourselves up and feel
What?
guilty about it, recognizing,
Yeah.
the reason why it happened and learning from it, right? So going forward, we don't have to continue to take those actions, right? Where we can actually learn and behave different going forward. Okay. So Annalise, what about you? Oh, you're on mute. Hold on. Okay, I unmuted you.
No.
Sorry.
It felt really good to know that picture that person forgiving me and know that I didn't have to like carry that anymore and feel bad about it anymore. And also knowing that I could be forgiving too, and that like even though some things like could bring me down, it's really good to forgive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. So I think you talked about, you were talking right now about a moment in a way that you had behaved that impacted someone else, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And were you able to bring anything to mind that was the other way around? And were you able to forgive someone else for the way that they had behaved?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was that like? Sort of seeing it from a different view.
Yeah, like made me feel a little bit better about that person, knowing that we both have like things in common, and that it was just okay. It's not really that bad.
Mm. There's something, an email that I feel like I just got today that says something about that I want to read actually. But first I'm gonna let you go, Ariana.
It felt good for me, like to like picture being forgiven by someone and like to forgive another person, and like to think about like how it could be different in the situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Give me Kane. Yeah, I did. I was muting because there's a lot of background noise, and so you can still hear us even when you're muted.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still hear us, but there's sometimes a lot of background noise, so I'm muting people when they're not speaking. If there's something you want to say, just raise your hand and I can unmute you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I actually got an email today from the Mindful Self-Compassion group that I get emails from. And it says here, it's called The Balm of Forgiveness. And I thought it was very appropriate for today. So it says, forgiving ourselves and others does not mean that we are accepting, excusing, or overlooking the hurtful behavior. And I think that's very important to clarify. So it's not saying, and I say that because, Annalise, you mentioned that sometimes it's okay. And sometimes, it is okay, but in the moment, if someone hurts you, it doesn't mean it's fine for them to hurt you. It's just finding forgiveness and understanding of why that could have happened. It's just not saying, okay, you can hurt me whenever. Okay, it's not meant to say that. So I'll repeat that. Forgiving ourselves and others does not mean that we are accepting, excusing, or overlooking the hurtful behavior. Forgiveness is the way that we release our hearts from the consequences of past hurts. Right? So I talked before about you're holding on to that, and you keep holding on to that even though it already happened. And then you're hurting yourself at that point, okay, by holding on to the resentment, the anger, whatever it is, okay, the shame, the guilt. So forgiveness is the way that we acknowledge our human imperfections and the many background factors and conditions that cause behaviors. With self-compassion, we hold ourselves with kindness, tenderness, and understanding because of the hurt we experience from others or the pain we cause to others or ourselves. Shame may arise, especially when we connect with the pain we have caused others. Self-compassion helps in allowing the pain to be there, connecting with the reality that we all make mistakes, and responding with compassion for ourselves and for others. And I thought that was really explained really beautifully. Do you have a question or comment?
No, it's just the lighting is
Oh.
so it's sticking out.
It's okay. Gabrielle is sitting here like this. And I'm like wondering what to see.
Yeah,
You can't really see her
right,
hands.
So then if I go like that.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, so just hopefully that clarifies what we mean by forgiveness and how we can use it in sort of in a practical way. Okay. The other thing too is that this idea of love versus attachment. So loving someone for who they are rather than being attached to them being a certain way, right? So like, oh, I'll love them, or I can love them if they act some certain way or something, okay? And being attached to an outcome or some certain behavior. So when we love someone, then just allowing them to be who they are and understanding that, who they are as people. And again, that we all have hurts and we're all imperfect. Okay. They are, we are. I need to find that poem. I'm going to read it. Okay. So right now, one of the things that we're going to do 2 more reflections, but we had started last week with the self-compassion practice that started with ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this meditation of the classic loving kindness practice. And this time, after we start with ourselves, then we're going to extend it to other people. Okay. So I invite you to sit up nice and tall and gently close your eyes, sitting in a comfortable position. Taking a deep breath through our nose and exhaling through our mouth a few breaths. So taking some mindful breaths here. Inhaling. Inhale through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. And one more time, inhale. Just letting your breath now come to its neutral, natural rhythm. And noticing as you take breaths how your chest rises and falls. Noticing the movement of your shoulders as you take in breaths and out breaths. Noticing your chest expanding and contracting in your belly. Noticing the movement there. And just your breath as a whole. This whole act of breathing. And all the different parts to it. Feeling the coolness of the air as it comes in your nose. And the warmth as you exhale. And we're going to use some compassionate phrases here that we're going to repeat several times before moving on to the next component. So first we're going to begin with ourselves. And in our self-care practice, beginning with ourselves is of the utmost importance. We had spoken last week about we're not able to really give our best self when we're serving from an empty cup. Right? You wouldn't dream about having your phone battery die, but we often move throughout our days really feeling depleted. And so first, bringing this practice to yourself of loving kindness and saying to yourself, may I be happy. Not just saying the words, but really feeling them, experiencing them. And sometimes it can help to bring to mind a happy moment in your life, a time you really felt joy, and letting that support you and allow you to really feel happiness throughout your whole body, not just think it. May I be happy. May I be happy. And really wishing for that self, saying that prayer for yourself. May I be peaceful. Bringing to mind a moment that you've really felt some peace and ease in your body. What that feels like. The sensations of peace. And repeating that wish for yourself. May I be peaceful. May I be peaceful. May I be kind to myself. And this one can be really hard sometimes. It can be really difficult to be kind to ourselves. We can tend to be so hard. And so if it's helpful or supportive for you, placing a hand on your heart, or even a hand on your face, or wrapping your arms around each other, if you will, kind of like in a hug. And repeating to yourself, may I be kind to myself. Feeling that nurturing, that warmth, and that sense of kindness. And if that's difficult, maybe bringing to mind a moment you've been able to be kind to someone else. Or when someone's been kind to you. And what that feels like to feel kindness from another, if it's hard to give it to yourself. And expressing this wish for yourself. May I be kind to myself. And then repeating to yourself, may I love and accept myself just as I am. This phrase can be particularly challenging when we so much sometimes really want to be some other way, wish we were some other way, were kinder, better. But really knowing that you're doing the best that you can right now. And so may I love and accept myself just as I am. And allowing yourself to bring to mind someone that you really love, someone you really care about. It could be a family member, a friend, someone that you have a great connection with and you really support one another. And so allowing them to come to mind, into your mind's eye, and imagining that they're there in the room with you and sharing wishes with them, saying, may you be happy. Really feeling that sense of happiness and extending it over to them. That sense of happiness and joy. May you be happy. And imagining what it would be like for them, hearing those words from you. How it could really lift them up. It could make their day. And so sharing that loving kindness with them and really wishing it for them. May you be happy. And then may you be peaceful. Wishing them peace and ease in their life. Amongst all the challenges and the difficulties we experience sometimes. Passing on that wish, that prayer to them and really letting them experience it, imagining what that would be like for them. Having some peace and ease in their life. And may you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. And saying, may you be kind to yourself. There may have been moments with this person you love so much that you've seen them struggle, having a hard time. As we all do sometimes, and knowing that they struggle like we do. And sharing this wish, this prayer for them. May you be peaceful. And may you be kind to yourself. You might imagine placing your hand on their shoulder or holding their hand. And speaking gently and with care. May you be kind to yourself. And may you love and accept yourself just as you are. You may recall times that they've been really hard on themselves, feeling that they weren't perfect enough and they didn't act their best. But knowing that in that moment, just like you, they're doing the best they can. And so saying to them, may you love and accept yourself just as you are. Really sending out this love and kindness to them and this wish. May you love and care for yourself just as you are. And bringing to mind now someone that you know, but maybe don't know very well. It could be the mailman you see every day, or a teacher at school, maybe your neighbor. You see them, but you don't really know them much, or the person down the street. It can be anybody you've seen regularly, or maybe just seen a time or two, but just allowing this person that you don't know very well to come to mind. And knowing they too struggle and have challenges and don't always do or feel their best. And so saying this prayer for them. May you be happy. Really extending that happiness out for them. It might be hard for them to accept. And so sending out this energy of love and kindness. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. Knowing in these moments that are so difficult and uncertain, where so many of us are disconnected and feeling unease, sending that well wish, may you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. May you be kind to yourself, knowing how hard this can be for so many of us. Extending that out to them. Perhaps they're unable to do it for themselves. Saying, may you be kind to yourself. May you be kind to yourself. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. Bringing to mind someone you have a difficult time with, that can be a bit of a challenge for you, that maybe you don't get along very well. So not someone who's been a really difficult individual for you. Maybe they've really hurt you. So we really want to keep it, mild to moderate. Maybe just someone you've had a disagreement with before. Maybe a good friend you didn't see eye to eye with one time. But it could be someone that is just a situation that can be difficult for you. And it can be really difficult in some instances to feel loving kindness for this person. And so letting them come to your mind and saying to them, may you be happy. May you be happy. Understanding that this person may not have much happiness or joy in their life. And that may be part of what has contributed to their actions. So I'm finding some compassion in that and well wishing for them. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. Knowing that they may not have a lot of peace and ease in their life, and wishing that for them. May you be peaceful. May you be kind to yourself. Understanding if this person really has difficult moments a lot, it may be that they're really unkind to themselves. And so allowing that space and that room for them to be that support for them that they very well may not have. And saying, may you be kind to yourself. Knowing that they're probably doing the best that they know how. May you be kind to yourself. And may you love and accept yourself just as you are. Knowing that despite hurts that they may have caused, challenges that may have arisen in their life, that they're still human. They're imperfect, just like we all are. May they recognize that common humanity piece of theirs, knowing that even though they may be working to improve, that they find the space and recognition that they can still love themselves just as they are, at their root core, not just their actions, but who they are. Our actions don't always align with our true self. And may they find that within themselves, wishing for them that may you love and accept yourself just as you are. And now allowing in to your mind's eye the plants, animals, humans all across the globe, and the billions of people all over the world who also have these struggles, challenges, who are human, and animals who have an aliveness. We all have energy flow through us, regardless if we're plants or animals. We're all energy. We're all one in this life. And so wishing for them as well, extending that loving kindness, saying, may you be happy. May you be happy. And really feeling that inside and extending that out. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. May you be kind to yourself. May you be kind to yourself. May you be kind to yourself. And feeling down deep inside and extending this loving kindness out. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. Now imagine all these animals, your community, neighbors, your town, all the states, all the people across the globe on different continents, the entire earth and all its life. Imagine now all that energy, all those creatures, those people, sending that loving kindness to you. They are all sending the loving kindness to you and saying to you, may you be happy. May you be happy. All of those that practice this practice across the world, they're sending this love to you. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. May you be peaceful. May you be kind to yourself. Maybe you be kind to yourself. May you be kind to yourself. And all of this, sending this prayer to you. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. You are beautiful and you are loved. May you love and accept yourself just as you are. When you're ready, gently opening your eyes, wiggling your fingers, your toes, stretching if you need to. Okay. So I'm going to unmute you, Ariana and Annalise. That was a long meditation, longer than we normally do, but that's how the practice is. So when we start with ourselves and then move it over to different phases of difficulty, if you will. So people we care about and know and love versus people that we don't know very well versus people that are a little difficult that we maybe don't get along with too much. And then, the whole world, right? There's so many people we don't know, and plants and animals and life all around. And so knowing we're all here, part of this planet, here together, right? So what was that like for you?
It was like calm and like peaceful, like for me, like to think of all the different things that you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
It felt really good.
Was any part of it challenging for you?
Like for like stuff, like when I was trying to think of people like I don't really know, it was kind of hard to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did any part of the practice stand out for you more than any other part, or?
I think not really. I think it was all pretty much almost the same for me.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Annalise?
Well, for me, like, yeah, it was made me feel like peaceful and calm, and like thinking of these things, and I was like imagining a bunch of things, like of ways of like people like telling me all those things, and me telling people those things, and like how it could affect other people, and how like it could change them, and how it changes you. And
Mhm.
and yeah, it just felt really good.
Yeah, and just even hearing you say that actually made me teary. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that so far you two have shared a really positive sort of peaceful experience, but I can tell you that not everyone has that. And we'll hear from Kane in a moment, and I don't know what his experience was, but I've had people that have really struggled with this practice because they're very hard on themselves, and it's hard for them to extend any kind of kindness to themselves. So that's one thing. And also the part where we're sharing loving kindness with someone who's difficult. Sometimes it's hard to be kind to someone who's being unkind and who maybe you don't like too much, and maybe has even hurt you. I mean, whoever it is that comes up for you, it can be really hard to extend that to someone, so that can cause some resistance in the practice as well. And I can share personally that I've done this practice where we stop at the difficult person and not the difficult person, the whole sort of planet part, okay, extending to them. But there was the reason that I added the very end, which is where they're bringing it back to you, is because I had an extremely powerful experience when I was led through that. Because for me, a lot of times, and I recognize that, well, for me, sometimes I don't feel lovable. There's a deep part of me that feels like I'm not lovable enough. And I know that's not true, but that's like something inside of me that I work on, and recognize and nurture, right? To know that that's not true, that I am lovable. But there's that hurt part that we can have of ourselves. And so to really get the energy and the feel in the room of all this coming back to me and people sending this love to me was actually very powerful. So the practice can really be very supportive. And it just like any other thing, when we're practicing and when it just is a routine, right? Versus when we're actually in a difficult moment, it can be very supportive for you. And whether you're holding your hand on your heart or on your face or holding yourself or whatever you need, in that moment. But yeah, knowing that when other people are practicing, they're extending that out to you too. Yeah, and it's really a beautiful thing. Next week, we're going to do a little different version of that I find really incredible too. So thank you for sharing. Yeah. So what about you, Kane?
It was very calming, and I almost fell asleep again.
So what did you notice when you felt like you were falling asleep? What did you do to support yourself?
I had to open my eyes once in a while so I didn't fall asleep.
Yeah, that's one way. Yeah, sometimes it's moving your body for a moment and repositioning yourself and just sitting up nice and tall versus if you're just kind of like laying down, it can really be make you sleepier. So, but the thing too is that when you notice you did an action, right? So that's mindfulness. So you became aware. You became aware, and then you took action. Yeah. So that happens sometimes. I think you're not sleeping enough. So sometimes that happens. Our body kind of needs rest. So when we settle down, then we just get really sleepy. Yeah.
I'm playing too much card games.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe.
Is that game can take about 4 hours or more.
Oh my. I'm not sure we can play that game. That's a little long.
Well, if you have a lot of people, it can take that long. But
Yeah.
if you have to have at least 3 people
Yeah. Yeah,
to
we've
play
got.
that game, and it takes about 2 hours with 3 people.
Wow. So what did you notice outside of, the physical, like sleepiness? So did anything come up for you in the practice when you were saying the phrases to yourself, or at any point, like the people that you care for, the people that are difficult, people you don't know, etc.? Did anything come up for you?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. You want to share?
sure. I seen a lot of people. Like, I was like walking through a park or something.
Mm. Was it something that you envisioned, or something that happened that came to mind?
That I envisioned.
Oh, okay. So you were imagining that you were somewhere in a park and that you were seeing lots of different people there?
Hmm. And animals.
Yeah. So you can have sort of visualizations. Some people, a visualization is more like a thought. Some people have visualizations that are more like words or even colors. So you can't always, it's not like you're going to see a scene like if you're actually looking at something with your eyes. It's almost like an impression of something in your mind. So yeah, when you're kind of having these visualizations, then you're like having imaginings, right, of these situations. So yeah. So it sounds like you all enjoyed the practice and got something out of it, and Annalise really, it feels like what you shared was pretty powerful for you, and some sort of a little bit of ahas and takeaways. Yeah, that's what I sensed. So, okay. So I want to do one more thing that I think is helpful, especially when we're thinking about difficult people, because this can really affect how we interact with others, and how we interact with others, how we see them, and so I know we just went through a long meditation, so I'm not going to do a long meditation here, but I'd like you to, I think, close your eyes. I think I invite you to close your eyes, and we won't do it too formal long time, but I think it helps you to kind of visualize when you have your eyes closed. So bringing to mind someone that you love. It could be a friend, a pet, even. It doesn't have to be a person. And focusing how much you care about them and their well-being and their happiness. Notice how good it feels to simply love them and wish them well. Like we were just doing, saying, may you be happy, may you be peaceful. And then imagine about wanting something from them, wanting their attention or reassurance, some kind of affection or a certain type of behavior, expecting them to be some certain way. And notice the feelings in your body and your state of mind. How they shift from openness to a contraction. So from this open, loving, kind space where you're just wishing them well and happiness and peace and joy, And then when you're wanting something from them, just how that feels in your body and the difference. It's almost like a pulling back or a closing down. And then imagining again that you're returning to love and positive feelings for them. Not wanting anything from them at all. Not needing reassurance or attention or for them to act a certain way. And notice what that feels like. Okay. What did you notice? Did you feel the difference?
Mm-hmm.
What about you girls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really different feeling when you're just open and loving and wishing someone well than when you're wanting something. It's difficult to really describe in words, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think an openness versus like a contracted kind of feeling is a good, sort of the best way to describe it, really. Yeah. So I'm gonna look up something here for a minute, but I'd like to get a sense from you all what your biggest takeaways were from class today. If you want to take a moment to think about it, and I'd love to hear from you about that.
I liked the meditating.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was fun.
Yeah. What about you girls?
Yeah, I agree. I think the meditating, it felt really good to do that.
Okay.
For me, it felt good to tell myself all those things, like to be happy and to like accept myself how I am,
Mm-hmm.
and to be peaceful. Just allowed me to think differently.
Mm. Okay. I love it. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing. And I'm trying to find a poem. So give me a moment because I think I'm almost to it. I hope. I meant to look for it before. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm going to find it and I'm going to share it. However, in the meantime, there's another one that I think is appropriate for this moment that I will share. Okay. This poem is called Enough by David White. And it says enough. These few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to the life we have refused again and again. Until now. Until now. All right. Thank you for coming today. It was good to see you all. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Now, one of the things that's kind of your practice for the week, okay, is that we want to take time to be present for the people around us, okay, who we're closest to. So taking some time to notice them with fresh eyes. So instead of doing this, right, I think when we were together still and we were able to meet, we went outside and did a sense and savor walk. Remember how we kind of walked around looking at things with new eyes, like we'd never seen it before, being curious about textures and smells and all that. So kind of applying this to people. So, we're assuming they're a certain way, or we've known them to be some certain way, but kind of looking at them with fresh eyes of curiosity. And maybe seeing, you may notice that there's things about them that you either didn't pay attention to before, or some things about them you really appreciate that you usually maybe just take for granted. Okay, so opening up again to the wonderful things that other people bring to your life and that they have to offer. Okay, and then how we kind of did, how we've talked before about gratitude and sharing that, then if you're able to do that, then maybe telling them what you like about them, or what you really appreciate about them, or what you love about them. Because when we share that, and we share that love and appreciation and that kindness, it really helps to, as Annalise actually kind of mentioned, what that can bring to their life too, when they see that you notice, because you're seeing them, right? We all want to be seen and heard. So when we take the time and the opportunity to let people know that we care, that we see them, that we hear them, and letting them know what we appreciate about them, it can really make a big impact in their life. And by doing that, it actually impacts our life too, in a positive way. So everyone benefits. It's like a win-win. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep posting in our little chat. And I think I mentioned that I was working on an app. It's almost ready. So I'm hoping soon to be able to set it for release, and then it's going to be a matter of them accepting it. So once they do, we can all be hopefully on the same page, on the same group, on the app, and communicate that way. And it'll only be for people that have taken this class. So that'll be nice. Okay? Right, everybody. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you next week. Oh, by the way, next week we should meet on Saturday instead of Sunday, because it's Mother's Day. I realize it's Mother's Day. So probably everybody's going to be doing stuff. So it's probably just better if we meet Saturday instead, okay? And I have to tell Lily. All right?
Wait, what time should we
I
do
think
it on?
3 is okay, if it's okay for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
3's
time
good.
work? Okay. All right. Next Saturday at 3. That's class 9. So we have 2 classes to go.
Okay.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.